So I asked the teacher, how can I be able to buy this house? How did you buy this house? The teacher explained to me that, if you work for government, you have a pay slip, it's easy to get this house. So from the age of 14, I already had that information from who? From the teacher. So I knew. So at that time, remember the teacher told me this. So immediately I knew that at the time I wanted to study journalism because I knew that with journalism, I did a study that you can earn your 45,000 a month and stuff. But I had also this goal of saying that, but the teacher said it's possible if you work for government to get these houses. So my goal from then, when I finished my matric, I worked in retail. So when I was in retail, though I was studying through UNISA, my goal was that I want to get a government job so that I can buy this house. So that's basically what I did. So immediately when I started saying that I want a government job, when I left retail, I resigned and said, no, I no longer want to work in retail. It's long hours and I'm not going to reach this goal. I even actually prayed about it. I think I prayed that, no, when I leave retail, I want to work a government job. I can tell you when I was busy studying at UNISA, it took me in 6 months, I was so fasting and constant about that prayer. Then I got my first job at government after retail. I got my job.
How old were you at the time?
I was 24.
24.
Yes, I was 24. But you see, the goal of 21 is already passed. But I didn't abandon the goal. So when I was 24, I worked at the government. I worked as a temp. Then I applied. The goal now was to apply for a permanent, because you already told me that you have to be a permanent employee and have a pay slip. So, and already I've done a lot of, from that 14 years to now, I've already done a lot of research.
That 10 years, the 10-year gap.
Yes, I even used to go and attend your auctions, even though I knew I was not going to buy. So I was getting a lot of information on how to buy a property.
But wait, before you continue, I want to ask you, man. At 14, you already had that kind of focus. And it took you 10 years to actually get the job. And we're going to continue from there. But at 14, man, kids were grooving, especially in the township. I got exposed to alcohol. At 12, I was already drinking alcohol.
Okay.
The township, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I quit at 21 forever. But the point I'm making is, at that time, we were running around. We didn't know what's happening. You had this concentrated focus, the discipline to be able to do that. When other kids were grooving, what were you doing?
I think I was doing almost everything. Remember, I was selling. Like Monday to Friday, I would go to work and I still deliver. I was the best performer at my high school. Even in matric, I was the top student in the high school. So Monday to Friday, I would go to school. And after school, I would study. I think in the township, I was known as that. My uncle bought me a Collins dictionary. My uncle was an academic.
He bought you what?
A Collins dictionary.
Oh, a dictionary,
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he used to bring a lot of encyclopedia. He used to buy them. So after school, that's basically, I'll be busy with it. I'll be busy with books. I read a lot of books during those years. So I read a lot of books, Collins Dictionary, and so many encyclopedia, to such an extent that a lot of people in my township, remember at the time, there's no property language in the township. Even now, right now, there is not. So a lot of people in the township, they always ask right now they ask other people, Lebo, it's a guy property. Where does she know property from? And a lot of people that used to come to my house, they'll tell you that was the first person we saw read an encyclopedia. There's no person that can open an encyclopedia and read it. But Lebo, she used to sit. And so I used to be mostly an introvert during my years, but I would go to Groove sometimes. I think the first time I went to Groove that put me in trouble was at that 14 years. A friend took me to a street bash. It was hosted by, I think, who's that guy? It's Mahuta and Fat Cook. There was this
DJ
other one.
Fat Cook and Mahuta.
Yes, at the time he was known as DJ Jotama before he became, I think, Fat Cook. So we went to his party, and then that's when we got into trouble. So I'll be that person who will diversify my things. After school, I would do my studying. I will read the books. Weekend, Saturday, sometimes I'll go with my mom. We will go and sell. Sunday, I will go to church. And then sometimes, some weekends, I would go with my friend. So most of the time, I would go and groove with my friends. Actually, for grooving, I can say I was...
Did you drink?
I've never drank alcohol at all.
Okay.
I'm one person who would always say that, because I went to high school at 11 years, because I started early. So at that 11 years, during that year, they had a street bash at the school. So every Valentine's, they have a street bash. So most of my friends that I started high school with, during that time, that's where they introduce you to alcohol and smoking.
Like I'm saying, I was 12 when I started.
Yeah, they introduce you to alcohol and smoking during that Valentine's bash. It happens inside the premises of the school. So during that time, all the friends, the crew that I was with, they started smoking and drinking, but I wasn't. Hence, a lot of time I tell people that I don't suffer from peer pressure. And I think it has helped me even financially. Because of even when I started working, the group that we were hired with were between, some of them were 21, 22, 24, 25, 26. I can say all of them, they bought cars. I was the only one that bought a property. And you know what happens when you do that? Because remember, a property is not something that you can go around and show people. A lot of people, they were like, because remember all your colleagues now, they've bought cars. And when you are still using the taxis, everyone's like, what is she working for? Where is she taking her money? And that time when I was doing what? I was paying half of my salary on a property.
Yeah, which brings us back to what you had been resolute about from the age of 14, and then you reached 24, started working. Take us through the journey from there.
Okay, when I started working, I started as a temp, and then I applied for permanent. I was hoping for that permanent letter. It's something that I prayed for during that process. So when I got it, I was so happy. When I saw that offer letter, I still have it, and I still have my first pay slip. I've printed them. I kept them in a file because I want them to be a testimony even to my kids to say that those two, immediately when they gave me the offer letter, I said, oh God, here's my property. I knew that with my offer letter, it's going to grant me my first property. It's going to grant me my gift.
Okay.
It's going to grant me my gift that I wanted. So immediately when I got employed, 6 months into my employment, I applied for my first property. I applied for my first bond, and it was granted. And funny enough, I didn't even have a credit record because I didn't have debts. Because my mom, she never taught us the culture of saying, when you start working, you need to open a clothing account. And another thing that helped me not to open clothing account, I already won brands as a teenager.
Oh, so that part of you was healed.
Was healed, yes. So there was not, I didn't even went to a clothing store. So the only thing I knew the goal was property. So I applied, they approved me, and then I got my first property at the time. And then that's where my journey started. And when I bought that property, I wasn't buying it for investment. I just bought it because of I wanted for my family to move from Maryland so that we can go and stay where. Because remember, I grew up in a family house.
Was it the Proteas land property?
Yes, I bought in Proteas land. So I wanted my family to move so that we can go, and now I'm feeding which lifestyle, the 14-year, the one that I was craving to stay in a bond house. I went and stayed there.